Yep, you all remember this one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Creepy Internet Nostalgia. Let's put a pause on that. Screamers, right? I hated this thing. And, well, I really hated screamers in general, and it started with this thing. I think this is probably the first internet screamer that I ever saw. Oh my god, this killed my ability to trust ever again. And these things started to become so common that it actually changed the way I, and I'm sure a lot of other people, started to use the internet. Anytime you were playing a game, anytime you were watching a video, anytime I was asked to invest even a little bit of focus by a piece of media I was consuming, I would scroll down to the comments to see what people were saying about it. Anytime a video or a game told me that I had to look closely to see or to find something, or I had to listen closely to some EVP ghost recording or whatever, or worse yet, even if something was just. Even if it didn't tell me, even if something just seemed like it was drawing me in or making me pay a little more attention than I otherwise would, I would stop what I was doing and scroll down to the comments to see what was up with whatever I was watching. That's the psychological impact that these things had on me, and I'm sure a lot of others can say the same. Let's look at a couple of others. I don't actually. This one seems vaguely familiar to me. I don't remember if I actually saw it myself at the time. I think I did. But from what I understand, this is one of the more classic ones. Yep. It was always the Linda Blair face. Always. That one came up a lot. I remember there was like some Smurf game or whatever that did the same thing. And here's another one. Yep, you guys remember this one. Everybody's dad or uncle had them play this at some point. Let's just skip to the end. The idea was that you would actually get real far in this. The idea was that you couldn't touch the edges of the maze, right? And then. Yep. Now, I don't remember if it would happen anytime you touch the sides, or just when you got to the end, or when the level timed out, or whatever. I don't remember. And as far as I know, there's no way to play this anymore now that Flash has been killed. So here, you have this game. You can't touch the sides. It's very difficult. Obviously, this part right here would be like impossible with keyboard controls. You would have to get in and have the focus of a surgeon trying to do this. You're probably leaning into your screen, and that's when it gets you. It's the same thing with the scary car commercial. You're trying to follow the car, but where'd it go? And you're focusing. It draws you in, and that's when they get you. And what's worse, after a while, once YouTube started to become a thing, it became a whole genre trying to scare kids with these. There's a million videos like this on YouTube of parents setting up their kids who are probably way too young for this. Yeah, same. Same, kid. Here's another classic one. We actually saw this in the previous video during the Urban Legends Ghost video. But you'll see there's text that comes up on the screen. Look closely at the door in the back. There would often be text like encouraging you, no, just keep looking, you'll see it anytime now. These things, after a while, just became very obvious and they kind of died out. And, yeah. And this guy added that sound for the video. I think I probably saw this one before, like long before the car commercial, but it didn't really get me because there was no sound. Before we move on, I'm going to take a quick little detour back to Unexplained Mysteries because there was actually an image that I meant to look up last time that I forgot to. This right here. Now, I have a little bit of a story with this image. I recently found it again, and, you can see it looks like a gray alien behind a fence, and somebody shines their light on it, and it raises its hand to cover its eyes. It is only now that I realized that that's what's going on in this picture. A little bit embarrassing, but I'm going to confess it. As a kid, I always thought it was wearing a farmer's hat. Hear me out. First of all, I don't think the image that I saw back then was as wide as this. I think it was more like cropped and leveled and zoomed in more. But you see its hand right there raised in front of its head to cover its eyes. I thought, because look, there's the round top, And here it is. I thought that was like the brim of a hat instead of a hand. And right there, that shadow was like a band that goes around the edge of the bowl. I got nothing else to say. I thought it was a farmer's hat. So this right here is hauntworld.com, and this is a site that actually still exists today, but I'm using the Wayback Machine to kind of show it as it was while I was using it. And the idea of this site is that it's kind of a directory in order to find haunted attractions, mostly in the US, but they do other countries as well. And what you would do is you would click on a state, and it would show you... Well, come on. It would show you all different haunted attractions that you could go to, and you would go on the sites, and really I would just use it to look at the pictures. Unfortunately, I'm having real difficulty finding some of these sites where the images aren't broken. But look at this, I just had to point this out. You choose your speed, dial up or broadband. Okay, here's one, the Haunted Mansion of Douglas, Massachusetts. And I can see they've just gone ahead and ripped off the font from the Eddie Murphy movie. That's fine, I guess. You could get away with more back then. And yeah, I would just scroll through and look at all the pictures. Yep, there's that early 2000s site design. I ain't ever coming back in there. It was scary. Cameron teenagers. That chainsaw guy was everywhere. How many were there? A girl from Belton, Texas. I love these credits. That tunnel was awesome. There's those teens from Cameron again. I've been to a lot of haunted houses, but yours was the best. Unknown older gentleman from out of town. I used to like haunted houses that did something like this, where they would post their... They would kind of have a story for their haunted house, and I know it's pretty common for haunted houses to kind of tell a story as you walk through them, but I like the ones that posted them to their site so you could actually read what it's about. So this one, the mad wax sculptor Baron Lucius von Ticket-Taker has returned to unleash his vengeance upon the living one again. Over 100 years have passed since the Baron's beloved daughter accidentally fell to her untimely death, throwing Lucius into a dark, tormented world of misery and madness. His once elegant wax museum, dedicated to beauty, was transformed into a grotesque chamber of horrors, showcasing the evil dark side of man and his blood-soaked crimes. A lot of the time, the image galleries on these sites would include a lot of cast pictures and, like, behind-the-scenes photos, as well as more, like, scarier night-of stuff. And I think that's really cool, because the impression that you get from a lot of these, some of them are big productions, but some of them are just, like, somebody's house or some farmer's land. And you do get the impression that these people, like, love what they're doing, and there's a lot of actual passion behind it, and I think that was really cool. I think I actually remember coming on this site in particular, and I love these rolling images. I remember being really scared of that, wait for it again? I remember being really scared of that one, of the burnt skeleton laying in the casket and the old vampire in the corner. I think I actually remember seeing that decoration in a lot of places. I think it was on display in, like, Party City back in the day. Now, there was one of these, and I'm hoping somebody can help me out with this. I would love to know if it's still around. There was one that I vaguely remember. I wasn't able to find it today. And it was called I think it was called Hell House, or some variation of that, no relation to the movie Hell House LLC, which I highly recommend. And there was something really different about that site. I think it was still a walkthrough, like most of these are, but there was, like, a whole story about it, but it wasn't cheesy at all. It was, from what I saw, it looked like it was just different rooms of, like, a regular suburban house. And the story was, like, about, I guess, some family that lived in the house, and, like, each room was, like, a different story for how they died or whatever. And some of the, like, I know there was, like, a kitchen, and there was, like, some picture of a car wreck, and they showed a picture of this disfigured face that was, like, missing the eyes and nose, and was all... It looked really realistic and disturbing. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, I would love it if you could, I'm having a little bit of a Candle Cove moment here, is what I'm saying. I know this existed, but I can't even find a reference to it on the site, let alone... I mean, all the old ones I remember, I've been able to find a page full of broken images, but I can't even find any reference to it on here. So I would really appreciate it if somebody knows what I'm talking about. To finish this off for today, I'm going to move us forward by a few years and talk about these when you see it pictures. I hated jump scares, but oddly enough, I really enjoyed these. And what's odd about it is that they are basically just jump scare light. It's just that you kind of know what you're getting into. The idea is that there's an image that seems normal, but there's something hiding in the image that you probably won't see at first glance. Now, because it is an image, it's not really going to be accompanied by a loud noise, so it kind of allows you to jump scare yourself in a way. And you're actively looking to jump scare yourself as you look at these images. So, if you haven't seen it by now, there is someone with their face painted under the table. That's, if it's just a normal image and you've seen it a bunch of times, it's gonna give you a little bit of a startle when you see that. It's also probably got some racial attachments to it that wouldn't really fly today. But anyway, let's look at some more of it. Yep. Normal image. It bothers me how low res some of these are. I think these would work better today, actually, in higher resolution images. But you see, usually it would just be a face like that would be shopped into a crack somewhere. This one I don't find particularly good. Sometimes what they would do is they would circle something else, but really the thing you're supposed to be looking for is in a different part of the image besides what's been circled. I don't really see the value in this. If anything, I feel like it's just going to have a lot of people walking away before they've actually seen the thing and just dismiss it as stupid. A lot of the time there was nothing hiding in these images. That's also something that started to come up. So when you put something like that and you haven't seen it yet, I suppose if you were to circle something that's close to the actual thing so that you'll look at the area that's circled and then glance over at the actual thing, that might be a little more effective. I'd like to know where this is. I'd like to explore that building. It looks like a really interesting spot. It's decayed a lot, but there's not a lot of graffiti. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This was another classic one. This was probably the first one I ever saw, and there's that face again from the other picture. A lot of people would just take that image and shop it into other stuff, which I don't find to be too creative or scary. This is a classic one, and whether you can actually see anything in this really depends on your brightness. The first time I saw this image, I couldn't actually see anything. For the longest time, I thought that people were screwing around and that this was a joke and there was nothing to see. Until I stood up. And then in the newly gained, I'm not sure what this effect is about, where, if you look at your monitor from a different angle, from above or below, it gets darker or brighter. I don't know what that's called. But it was only then that I was able to see this little gremlin goblin hiding in the corner here. Scared the absolute crap out of me the first time I actually saw it, mainly because I had seen this image so many times before. This one, I had this image for such a long time before I actually knew there was anything in it. In fact, a million years ago, I made a video that was a compilation of all these creepy locations, and it wasn't meant to have anything in it, but people pointed out in the comments that there is actually something in this image. Do you see it yet? Yeah. That is something that's well hidden. That is a good when you see it image. I had seen this picture so many times, and it was years before I realized there was anything there. This one too, this is one of my favorites. It's a little low res on modern monitors, but give you a sec to look. And there you go, we got the clown in the corner. See, this is why I think these kinds of images would work better if they were higher res. I mean, I'm sure back in the day when you were using like an 800 by 600 monitor, this would work a lot better. And of course, there was the inevitability on the internet of circling right back around to jump scares using GIF images. Of course, half the time you'd scroll all the way down and it would already be in the middle of the animation, so it really only works in places like 4chan where you have to open the image in order to actually get it to start playing the animation. It's pretty obvious that this was the inevitable conclusion of images that don't actually have anything hidden in them and are just meant to make you keep staring at nothing forever. That's all the time I have for today. I know this will be quite a bit shorter than the previous entry, but let me know in the comments, what are some pieces of scary internet nostalgia that you're familiar with? I know I personally have had a lot of difficulty in finding some of the old stuff using the Wayback Machine. Mostly because even if I do remember the sites, I'll go back and find that all the images and media are broken. So if you have any nostalgic scares, let me know about them in the comments, and it doesn't have to be early 2000s. I have no problem going up to late 2000s, early 2010s. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.